Jen, hurry up. Okay, all right. I have to make sure I know the date. Hello, and welcome to the March 10, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. I need approval of the minutes for the February 10, 2026 regular meeting.
So moved. Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Communications from the audience for items not listed as a public hearing on the agenda can come forward at this time. You please state your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, I'm Wendell Garvelink. This is my attorney, Kim.
Kim Katowski.
I'm going to let her do the speaking because.
Can you state your address for the record, please?
Sure. I live in Saugatuck at 3513 Keppel Lane, but the property that we're addressing is on 596 Crescent Avenue, which is just west of the Pickle Factory if you're going down 16th Street. It's one of those old cottages along there. So, Kim, maybe if you...
Yeah, I'll just give an overview of what's going on. Thank you, Kim, for suggesting we come here today. I appreciate that. So did Lynn Raymond, and actually Vince Duckworth. I know Vince as well. So thank you for listening to us tonight. The reason we're here today is my clients own a cottage on the south side of Holland. My office is actually not far from mine's on 16th or 17th in Washington. So what we're here for today is I understand for any short-term rental, they have to get approval and whatnot, a certificate and whatnot, and there's only 25 in all of the city of Holland that are allowed to have short-term rentals. So I talked to Vince, and he said, Kim, that was way before, I got involved as city attorney. I don't know how they came up with that number, and yeah, maybe you should talk to the planning commission because maybe it needs to be revisited. So we're asking you here tonight to consider revisiting that number. It's also impossible to get one of those 25 slots at this point because the people that have the 25 are never going to give them up. I liken it to Michigan or Michigan State. Some people never give up their football tickets, and you're never going to get them. So it's just they've tried endlessly on the website to be one of those 25 people, but it's never going to happen. So we're hoping that with the growth of Holland, the tourism, we're obviously not the city we were. Maybe Vince said it was probably 15 years or more ago that this number was set. So we've changed a lot as a city. So we're hoping that you would revisit that and or make it a fair process so that anybody can be in a lottery or some sort to get the permission to have a short-term rental. And my clients would just like to say a couple things, but we'd like you to possibly revisit it. Vince didn't know how they came up with that number. He wasn't sure, but it just seems like a really small number for Holland and the tourism and everything that goes on in our city. So I understand during the tulip time that doesn't apply, but there's tourism all year round in Holland, so we're hoping that you'll consider, expanding that number for other cottage owners. So, thank you.
Yeah, and our goal is to become compliant. And have
Can you
this-
speak into the microphone,
Yes.
Oh,
please?
sure.
Take
Yeah.
over here.
Our goal is to become, well, it's tripped me out a bit, but to become compliant, and we have used this property in the past as a long-term rental. But recently, we put a lot of money into the house, and the neighbors are thrilled about it. The curb appeal's there; it looks great. Flowers in the flower boxes, lawns kept up, and everything. Something that you normally wouldn't see with like a long-term rental. And in our quest to become compliant, we've gone to the website, we've talked to the building inspector, but there's nothing listed, and it only says on the website. We will check back and we'll let you know, but nothing's changed. And so maybe if we could have like at least an avenue that would show us the steps to become legal and everything. And the street is along, if you're familiar with Crescent Street, there used to be a marina there, just west of the Pickle Factory. Those were built intended to be cottages too. So for our particular case, it does fit into its intended original use. So anyway, something to consider. Was there anything that you thought we might want to bring up?
So you mentioned the neighbors.
Can you speak in the microphone?
Tell your
Sorry.
name. This is Wendell's wife, Tracy.
I'm Tracy. The neighbors have used the property. They're thrilled that it's right there because they'll have a big family something going on and not enough space in their own house. So they're bummed that that's going away. And it just several of our guests have said to us that hotels don't work out for them, and they just, they need the Airbnb type of house kind of situation over a hotel, and that they have a hard time getting them, and so, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to
You
add.
have 30 seconds.
Oh, boy. One thing I'd like to add to that is we've had no complaints, and we didn't even realize we were breaking the law when we started this because we saw that they were legal. We've had no complaints. Neighbors think it's an asset. And anyway, that's about it. Oh, and the people we rent to are like Hope College parents coming to visit their kids. It's not like Daytona Beach. We vet people. We don't want to cause any problems. So, and our intention is to eventually move back into that house once we have our last kid out of the house that we live in Saugatuck. So, we
right.
love the area.
Thank you
All right,
very
we
much.
just hope you'll revisit
That's
it
okay.
and
All
look
right.
at it.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank
guys.
you very
Thanks.
much. Anyone else to speak on items that are not listed as a public hearing on the agenda? No? All right. Next item is new business. 49 West 3rd Street, Holland Board of Public Works. Water Reclamation Facility, Ultraviolet Disinfection Building Addition. The project requires a street vacation, 2nd Street, and rezoning of the parcel to industrial. If you'd like to come forward, BPW, state your name for the record.
Thank you. My name's Alex Craigmile with Holland BPW. I'm the planning engineer in the planning department. For this project, I'm the project manager. So I think, is there slides available? There we go. Okay. So just as a background on this project and kind of why we're here today, the BPW acquired the southern parcel just west or just south of the west plant several years ago as part of JDY going away. We installed a new substation, Pine Street, and with that kept the existing municipal building or building that was over there and kind of converted it into two halves, one for Magna, who was the existing owner of the parcel, to remain as a tenant, and the northern half for BPW staff, with kind of the long-term vision that that land would eventually be associated with the wastewater plant as growth was needed over time. So over the years, we've kind of kept that in our back pocket. Moving forward with the zoning and the rezoning and the master plan, one of the things that came to our attention when we kind of started to look at this project was actually two parts. One, there's 2nd Street right-of-way that still exists today, both east and west of River Ave, currently in what we call East Plant, but also between that northern and southern parcel that's now completely surrounded by BPW property. With that, we also did realize that the southern parcel there is not zoned industrial as of today. It was one of the conversations that Steve and I had as we started to get into this. Currently, that 2nd Street doesn't really provide any benefit besides ours. With what the existing chemical feed is, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later on in these slides of the process and where we're at, but we're going to need a new building that will go south of what the existing building is. And so with that, with the 2nd Street being there and kind of dead ending in the middle of the block in that parcel, we were requesting the vacation of that to be able to utilize that for wastewater utility space, water reclamation space. So what you'll see is what it is today, and yellow kind of defines that 2nd Street that exists. And what currently happens is there's a parking lot for guests for both the water reclamation facility and also kind of a loop that ties into the parking lot of the Magna building. And there's also additional access off of 3rd Street. Plan-wise and property line reconfiguration. So what we're looking to do is broader figure. There is the substation today, which is the electric utility. There's the water reclamation facility under the wastewater utility. We'd like to separate out the substation parcel itself. This helps us on the utility side, getting the property associated with the right utility usage. But also in the future, when we go to eventually use that southern parcel, just to combine the two as opposed to having to do a split later. Also vacating the Second Street right away in configuration of the very north property line, stealing a little chunk of that to the northern parcel to allow for that new building so that we don't need to do a variance for the building. From a site plan perspective, this kind of shows you the layout of where that building looks like in proximity to the kind of green space just to the north of the parking lot there and how it lines up. So that's kind of where that northern line was created to create that southern parcel and why we need a little bit of footage there to tie it in. Oh, all right. I'm done. My apologies, I thought this was the same slide deck that we had for the study session. So broader topic, but the building itself, the reason that it's there, I can just run through for you guys really quickly. Yeah.
Go back to the one that just, yeah, that would be a good one to,
Maybe that one, or that's probably better.
that one. Yeah.
So to the north there is the existing admin building closest to River, and then parallel to it a little bit to the west on the very south side is the current chem feed building that we use chlorine to feed into the process as the final kind of step as it outfalls into Lake Mac. Back during COVID, we did a study and an analysis on a high end to see if chemical was still the best path for treatment for that. And we compared that with UV technology, ultraviolet light. It's been around for a while. It's used at a lot of other plants in the area. And part of this is during COVID, chemical prices got particularly high, and also there was some deliverability issues and concerns about whether we'd be able to get everything that we needed. So kind of in that, we did a real high-end study and found that it was actually more cost-effective to go to ultraviolet light technology. It's cheaper usage when compared to the chemical costs. Also helps as an electric utility that our rates are relatively low. So with all of those calculations, it came to a point where it made sense to go down the ultraviolet path. With that, the existing chemical feed building doesn't provide the necessary arrangement and channel to make that work. So the way the UV lights work, as a coworker likes to say, if you picture them as lightsabers, they're very bright, that they kind of stick down at an angle through the channel that the water flows in. That's kind of the general structure of what it would look like. So what we looked at doing to allow for backup use and future was we would build that building just to the south, kind of in parallel path. That allows the construction of the new UV setup, allow that to work, but then if we ever need to do maintenance or if there's any issues with it, the old path is still in existence and we can still feed that with chlorine. We won't keep all the large tanks in, but we'll still be able to feed it with totes. So with that, kind of went down this path of, okay, well, we have both parcels for that. Now we need a building that's slightly to the south of what the existing structures are, gets into Second Street, gets into the property lines as it is. So that's what brings us here today with kind of the three parallel requests of rezoning, splitting the parcel out, and vacating Second Street. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Getting a grasp on the project or the vacation?
I guess my only question is, so this is not for the site plan with the new UV building, this is just to get the land ready so you can build that?
Yeah, so
Rezone,
this
so-
is to rezone it. So we do have
Okay.
plans at 90%. Those are in, Steve's been looking at those. We've been working with the building department and others through that process. But this specifically is just for the land associated with making it work.
Okay, just to clarify that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so
Dave.
good question.
Any other questions?
Not that it matters, but we're getting rid of Second Street altogether, all of it, right? Or is it,
Yeah.
we're keeping
Yeah,
any
both
part of
sides.
that? Okay, I was just curious. I couldn't tell from the plans if it was like going away completely.
Steve wants to clarify on that, apparently. He's waving his pen over there.
Okay.
I do, thank you. So, yeah, a couple things. Hopefully this helps at least with that vacation request. So you're really being asked to do 3 things tonight. The recommendation is to approve the site plan, make a recommendation on rezoning the property from form-based code north downtown to industrial, and then the recommendation to city council for the vacation of Second Street. The lot split is certain, or reconfiguration is certainly part of what they're doing. That's a little bit more of just an administrative function, so you guys don't really have to get into that. But those are the 3 things that you're being asked to do here tonight. Happy to walk you through any of those details of those 3 things if you have some questions, but
It might be good just to kind of clarify what's, like, I understand the zoning, like the rezoning elements of it and the vacation, but the specifics on the site plan, knowing there's kind of some phases to this, it sounds like, or is it all still, are we still just approving
Yeah.
the full plan?
So it would be the full plan
Okay.
of putting the building in.
Yep, so that's that smaller building that's on there.
Yep.
Yep,
yep, that building is about 1,500 square feet.
Yes.
That's what you're being asked to approve as the site plan. I know this is a little bit out of the ordinary, because clearly, and I tried to outline that in the staff report, that this clearly is what I would describe as an essential service from what they do. This facility is part of their water reclamation facility, so, but as we've done with other projects, because of the street vacation, the way UDO was written, it says, you know, that the planning commission makes the recommendation to council for a street vacation when it's associated with a site plan. Our practice has been, when they're here for one thing already, that you guys have then done the site plan approval. So we figured, well, let's do the site plan as well. And then, of course, make the recommendation on rezoning as well. Again, that gets a little bit interesting just because the essential services are permitted in all the zoning districts, but I think we have all agreed that we think it really cleans up something on our zoning map to make it industrial, which we believe is the more appropriate zoning district. When you look at the maps here, that area outlined in green is what we're talking about. It is zoned that north downtown right now. The master plan indicates that that is in that essential service master plan, which of course, because this is part of their overall campus for their plans for doing the work that they need to do. So we just feel like that is also the most appropriate thing as we're doing all these things together to just do the rezone as well. So sorry for the convoluted explanation. 3 things tonight: site plan approval, 2 recommendations to council for rezone and street vacation.
Got it. We're gonna do 3 separate votes on those too.
That would be great.
Yes. Cause yeah, we don't always have a street vacation.
No.
Yeah. That's very unusual. Does anyone have any questions on that one? We all understand?
Magnet doesn't get affected by this at all for any?
No.
Okay.
And that's partly why we're keeping that as 2 separate parcels versus
Okay.
just merging it together.
Okay.
Perfect.
So it won't impact their lease.
Any questions on the rezoning?
No, because it matches what we were going for with the master plan, UDO. So this is kind of part of the larger plan. Does that make sense?
Any questions on the site plan or comments? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. At this time, I will open a public hearing on this item if anyone would like to come forward and speak to this. No, I will close the public hearing. 3 separate motions, 3 separate votes on 3 separate things concerning the same parcel.
Okay.
What order?
Want a motion?
The order, we have the site plan is first.
Oh,
I
I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan as presented by, and with the recommendations by staff.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
All right.
Se- Second Street vacation.
Sure, I move to vacate Second Street.
Support.
All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. And the
Aye.
rezoning.
Sure, I move to rezone 49 West Third Street.
Support.
Does that count?
Do
Do
you
we
want
want to
him
make
to
a
be more
recommendation
specific?
to city
Oh,
council?
that's right, we have to make that recommendation.
Well, the vacation does
No,
too,
I'm sorry, the
but-
Yeah.
vacation goes to,
Yeah, they both go to city council.
It would be nice to
Yeah.
clarify that.
That's
sure.
Yeah.
If you could rewrite all those.
Our fabulous person over there. Okay, so Dave, restate the last one.
Sure, the last one is, that we recommend to city council to rezone 49 West Third Street.
Two,
Industrial.
industrial. Okay.
I'll support that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in, all of you. Communications and petitions. Scheduling public hearings, there are none. Communications from commission members? None.
None.
Communications from staff? Steve says no. Motion for adjournment?
Support?
All's in favor say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Aye.
Aye.